Kosan 1. Your loss awakened the gift.
Not being seen was the shield your next chapter needed. There was a season when even your own efforts seemed to ignore you. The numbers fell, the savings drained, the plans you built with careful hands dissolved like ink in rainwater. And what made it heavier was not only the money itself. It was what the loss seemed to say. That you had failed. That your timing was wrong. That maybe all the quiet faith you carried inside had been naive. But the deeper truth was stranger and far more sacred. Your life had to become silent enough for you to hear what prosperity had been drowning out. Some gifts do not arrive through gain. They are excavated. Like underground springs that only reveal themselves after the surface cracks, your hidden capacity waited beneath the collapse of what you thought was security. The loss was not the ending of provision. It was the ending of distraction. And for a while, you hated that truth. Because losing money does not feel poetic when it happens. It feels humiliating. It looks like staring at your phone in the middle of the night, reopening your banking app as if the number might somehow change. It sounds like pretending your voice is steady while talking to people who still think everything is going well. It feels like swallowing the private shame of wondering how someone as careful as you could have missed the signs. The chosen one knows this kind of silence. The silence where no one notices the inner earthquake because your face has learned how to stay calm. But something holy was hidden in that invisibility. Not being seen was the shield your next chapter needed. If people had witnessed the dismantling too early, they would have named it failure. They would have rushed to explain your pain with their own limited language. They would have tried to rescue you back into the smaller version of yourself. So life covered you. It tucked you away from applause, away from commentary, away from the pressure to appear successful.
What felt like abandonment was often protection from premature interpretation.
Because what was growing in you could not survive public opinion. The loss of money did something unusual. It forced your attention away from what was leaving and toward what remained. And what remained was you. Not the version of you attached to outcomes. Not the version validated by visible progress. The raw, intelligent, sensing, resilient self beneath performance. That was the treasure field. At first, you only noticed practical things. You became more resourceful, more observant, more disciplined with what little remained. But then another discovery emerged. When the old financial path collapsed, you found yourself solving problems in ways you never had before. You saw patterns faster. You adapted under pressure. You learned to create value from almost nothing. A hidden gift was introducing itself. Not loudly, not with fanfare. More like a candle being noticed in a room after the electricity fails. You had always carried this ability, but abundance had allowed you to outsource it. When money was available, convenience kept the deeper intelligence asleep. When options were endless, intuition stayed buried under comfort. Loss stripped away excess pathways until only essence remained. And essence is where gifts live. For some, the hidden gift is discernment. For others, it is teaching. For others, building, creating, leading, healing, storytelling, problem-solving, designing, speaking, strategizing, mentoring. Yours came through necessity. That is why it feels so bonded to pain. The place where you bled became the place where you learned to see. You began noticing that every setback sharpened a part of your perception. The failed investment taught you timing. The stolen opportunity taught you boundaries. The business mistake taught you structure. The empty account taught you what truly multiplies. And somewhere in the ashes of numbers, a different kind of wealth started breathing. Capability. This is the kind of wealth no market crash can touch. The world teaches people to worship visible resources. But the deeper current of life often cares more about invisible capacity. Because money in the hands of an unconscious person disappears. But wisdom in the heart of a tested person becomes a river. That is what this season was preparing. A river. Imagine a seed trapped inside stone-dry earth. To the eye, nothing is happening. The field looks forgotten. The surface offers no proof. But underneath, pressure, darkness and waiting are teaching the seed what open skies never could. Then the shell cracks. Not because it was weak, because it had become ready. Your financial loss was that crack. The shell was not your money. It was your old identity. The version of you who believed security lived outside yourself. Now something more rooted is emerging. You are beginning to understand that your true provision has always been linked to your awakened gift, not merely to stored resources. Resources can vanish. A gift multiplies. And once awakened, it reorganizes your future. This is why some people who lose everything come back with a force they never had before. They are no longer operating from dependency. They are operating from essence. The chosen one becomes dangerous to limitation the moment they realize what cannot be taken. There was a day in this journey when grief changed shape. At first you mourned the money. Then you mourned the version of yourself that thought money was proof of worth. That grief was deeper. It touched childhood fears, old survival memories, inherited beliefs from family systems that equated safety with numbers. Maybe you were taught that money meant love, or control, or protection from chaos. So when it disappeared, it reopened older wounds. This is why the pain felt bigger than the amount itself. The loss was speaking to history. But here is where the awakening became sacred. Instead of rushing to replace the money, life asked you to sit with what the emptiness revealed. That pause changed everything. Because emptiness is often a mirror. And in that mirror, you saw hidden talents that had always stood quietly behind your fear. You realized you could communicate ideas in ways that moved people. You realized you had an instinct for reading systems. You realized your mind could connect dots others missed. You realized your pain had made you deeply empathetic, and that empathy itself was guidance. The hidden gift was not something newly given. It was something newly trusted. That distinction matters. Too many people wait for lightning bolt moments. But your gift arrived like recognition, a remembering, a returning. Like finding a forgotten room in your own house and realizing it had been furnished all along. The money loss was the locked door opening. And yes, there were bitter days. Days when practical fear still sat heavy in your chest. Days when bills felt louder than intuition. Days when the old self wanted immediate rescue. Those days were real. This script does not romanticize them. The chosen one still had to face calls, obligations, awkward conversations, revised plans, uncomfortable restraint. But the miracle was hidden inside the way you changed under pressure. Instead of breaking into panic, you began breaking into clarity. That is the gift. Clarity born under consequence becomes wisdom. And wisdom, once embodied, becomes a form of abundance. This is why your future is not built on recovering what was lost. It is built on expressing what was revealed. That is a different architecture entirely. Some people spend their lives protecting the shell. You were chosen to discover the seed. That is why the collapse had to happen before the expansion. Because your next chapter requires a self-trust that comfort could never have taught. Not being seen was the shield your next chapter needed. Hidden seasons protect sacred formation. In public success, people praise results. In private loss, life develops substance. You are now carrying substance. You notice it in small ways. The way your decisions are slower but stronger. The way you no longer chase every shiny opportunity. The way your intuition quietly says no before logic catches up. The way you can now sense whether something expands your life or only flatters your ego. This hidden gift may even be your ability to guide others through what you survived. Sometimes the wound becomes a lantern. The very financial mistake that once embarrassed you may become the story that frees someone else from repeating it. The collapse becomes curriculum. The scar becomes instruction. And suddenly, what once looked like waste reveals itself as training. This is how life turns loss into lineage. Your story becomes a bridge others can walk across. That is a holy kind of wealth. And here is the practical transformation lesson hidden inside your awakening. Track energy before outcome. When you lost money, you were forced to examine not just what you did, but how each decision felt in your body, spirit, and mind. Some choices had looked profitable, but left your inner world contracted. Some opportunities seemed small, but made your mind come alive. That contrast taught you something powerful. Your hidden gift is often located where your energy becomes coherent. Follow what deepens your aliveness, not what merely promises immediate reward. The world often measures by short-term return. The awakened soul measures by resonance. This is how the hidden gift matures into a life path. You stop asking, will this make me money fast? And begin asking, does this awaken the part of me that creates sustainable value? That question changes destiny. Because now your work, your calling, your contribution, and your prosperity begin to emerge from alignment rather than fear. The money you lost may have been tuition. Expensive, painful, unforgettable tuition. But what it purchased inside you is priceless. Discernment. Precision. Humility. Innovation. Self-trust. Creative intelligence. These are not consolation prizes. These are foundational assets. This is why your future wealth will feel different.
Less frantic. Less performative.
Less attached to proving. More rooted. More intentional. More sovereign. Because now your wealth will come from who you have become, not from what you were trying to keep. And there is something beautifully ironic in this. The thing you thought ruined your path actually revealed the only path that truly belonged to you. That hidden gift may now call you into places you never imagined. A new business built around your insight. A teaching platform. A healing modality. A creative practice. A system others need. A voice that once hid behind fear, now becoming medicine. This is how loss awakens legacy. Quietly first. Then undeniably. The chosen one often mistakes concealment for rejection. But concealment is sometimes incubation. A pearl is formed because irritation is not expelled, but transformed. That is your symbolic truth. The grain of loss entered your life painfully. It disrupted comfort. It agitated old wounds. But instead of destroying you, it invited layers of meaning, resilience, and intelligence to form around it. Now what once hurt is becoming something luminous. A pearl no one could have manufactured from ease. That is the beauty of your becoming. You are no longer trying to return to who you were before the loss. That version of you did not yet know your own depth. Now you do. Now you know how to create from scarcity without becoming scarce in spirit. Now you know how to let endings educate you. Now you know how to listen beneath panic. Now you know the difference between an opportunity and a distraction. Now you know your hidden gift was never absent, only unpressured. Pressure introduced you to yourself. And perhaps that is the real miracle. Not that the money left, but that the illusion left with it. The illusion that you were only as powerful as what you possessed. Now you understand. Your mind is an instrument.
Your pain is a translator.
Your intuition is architecture. Your gift is renewable. No one can bankrupt what is rooted in awakened essence. So, if you're standing in the middle of the aftermath, still counting what disappeared, breathe. There is another inventory happening. Not in your bank account. In your being. Count the courage you now possess. Count the clarity. Count the refined instincts. Count the creative responses that emerged when old methods failed. Count the self-respect born from surviving without pretending. This is wealth. And from this wealth, visible abundance can be rebuilt with integrity. This time it will not rest on illusion. It will rest on awakened design. Your next chapter is not revenge against the past. It is reverence for what the loss uncovered. So move differently now. Trust the ideas that keep returning. Honor the abilities that surfaced under pressure. Study the patterns that only pain revealed. Give structure to the gift that kept whispering in the dark. The whisper is your future asking to be built. And because you now know what false security feels like, you will build on truth. Not borrowed truth. Embodied truth. The kind earned in private. The kind born where no one applauded. The kind that transforms a hidden gift into a visible life. Not being seen was the shield your next chapter needed. Now the shield can lower. Not because you are the same, because you are ready.
3. Affirmations.
1. My losses have revealed gifts that cannot be taken from me.
2. I create future abundance from awakened wisdom, not fear.
3. What once emptied my hands has strengthened my spirit and sharpened my purpose.
Blessing. May the hidden gifts awakened through your loss become rivers of wisdom, provision, and purpose. May every painful ending be transmuted into clear direction. May your hands build from truth, your mind move with discernment, and your spirit trust what has been revealed in the quiet. And may the chapter born in invisibility now rise with depth, grace, and unshakable alignment.